Hi, I'm Jenny. I'm a physical therapist with Ethos Home Care. I've been working with Ethos for about the last 3 years and then been in home care for approximately the last 6 years. Prior to that, I have worked in inpatient rehab and before that in the hospital treating patients for physical therapy. At this time, I have my doctorate's degree in physical therapy. I'm a graduate of the University of North Dakota from class of 2009. And one of the things that I'm going to be pulling in today and talking a little bit about is a program called Stepping On, which I'm a leader for. So I'm a Stepping On leader, and that is a state program that goes over fall prevention in older adults. Part of the reason I'm pulling it in is it's got a lot of good resources for fall prevention and different ideas and tips. So you may hear me talk briefly about that. So the first concept we're going to talk about, the first question is why falls are a problem. So we look at it and we say, well, they hurt your finances, they hurt your quality of life, and they can affect your independence. So 1 in 4 older adults over the age of 65 will fall in a year. That's 25%. You know, how many of those people who are falling are talking to their doctor about it? How many are bringing that up in their yearly visits? And it's really important that we do that because that's what cues our doctor to look farther into what's happening. Maybe do a med rec, maybe look into do labs need to be done, and also just looking into maybe a referral to a physical therapist would be appropriate for some balance and strengthening. Every 20 minutes, an older adult dies from a fall in the US, and this is according to the CDC. The most common fear reported in community dwelling adults over the age of 65 is the fear of falling. So we're looking at all of these different things and we can see why this is so important. You know, why are falls a problem? You know, we look at it and it's so frequent, the number of people that are falling, the amount of deaths that are happening because of it, the fear that goes into it, and then the last thing is the cost to our healthcare system. The cost of falls to the US healthcare system is estimated to be $50 billion annually. And that's again according to the CDC. So before we jump into what we can do to help our balance, let's talk about what our balance is. So our balance is made up of 3 different things. And the first one is an easy one. It's our vision, what we see. The better we can see, the better our balance. So if you think about if you're walking around in the evening when the sun's starting to set, or maybe in the winter, and at that time it gets dark sooner. So are we turning the lights on? Are we making sure that we can see well enough? The next thing is, are we having our yearly eye exams to make sure that the acuity of our vision is good, to make sure that we're addressing any diseases that we might have, including glaucoma, macular degeneration, or cataracts, which all 3 affect how well you can see, affect your depth perception. So that's one of the 3 things that go into our balance. The second thing is what we feel through our feet. So the sensation in your feet is what makes give us our balance. So if you can't feel in your feet, or you have a disease that leads to that being affected, like diabetes or a peripheral neuropathy, we know that your balance is going to not be the best. We know you're going to be at a higher risk for falls. The last thing, the third thing, will be what your inner ear tells you. So our inner ear is our vestibular system, and it's what tells us where we are in space. So imagine when we were little kids, right? And we used to spin in circles, right? My kids do this all the time. They spin in circles till they fall over. And what they're doing is they're impairing their vestibular system so much that they're losing their balance. And as we age and as we get older, it doesn't work as effectively anymore. We're maybe not challenging it. We're maybe not giving it enough opportunity to work. So it starts to not work as well. And when we don't get good feedback from our vestibular system, we start to have decreases in our balance. We start to see increasing in falls. So those are 3 main things that go into it. There's a few other things that go in. One of the biggest ones is your strength. If your legs aren't strong enough, if you are losing strength, your balance is not going to be as good. So the stronger your legs, the better your balance. The more we work our bodies, the better balance we have. So now that we've gone over what balance is, we're going to move into a few different ideas on how you can keep your home as safe as possible, what you can do in the home to keep yourself safe. And this is one of my favorite things, because in the home, it's the easiest, quickest, simplest, and fastest way to prevent falls. Any physical therapy, strengthening, balance training takes 6 to 8 weeks to really start to see benefits, where with these changes that we're going to go over here soon, they're immediate. You make these changes and you're going to see a reduction in falls. So I'm going to move over, we're going to pull my kid over, and we're going to take a look in what I've got. All right, so next we're going to go through some ideas of home modifications that will improve your safety in the home and prevent falls. So in my kit here, this is one of our kits we use for the Stepping On program, and there's a lot of good ideas in here. So I pulled it in because I have examples, I can hold things up, and it will give you a good idea. The first one is the use of night lights. So night lights will help to light your path on the way when you're up in the middle of the night, to get to the bathroom, to do a variety of different activities, maybe even in the evening. I encourage people, sometimes night lights aren't enough for people. Sometimes some people who already have poor vision need to flip a light on next to the bed, or maybe they need to leave the bathroom light on, which will light the path from the bedroom to the bathroom. But the better you can see at night, the less you're walking in the dark, the safer you're going to be. The next thing are throw rugs. So I'm sure you guys have probably heard this before. The throw rugs can actually throw your balance off. They can roll up under your feet. Who hasn't tripped on a throw rug? I've tripped on a few in my life. So if getting rid of your throw rugs isn't a possibility and you want to keep them, they make things called carpet tape. So you can take the tape the corners down so they're less likely to flip up, less likely to trip on and result in a fall. For the bathroom, so some homes have tubs that are the slippery style. Maybe they're not the newer models where they've got the textured bottoms. So there's a lot of different things you can put in there. This one is just an example that unrolls. There's suction cups to go on the bottom. So this in the bathtub, placed on the floor, would make a nice surface where you're not going to have the slip. Looking for bathroom modifications farther, looking into using grab bars. We will usually recommend putting a grab bar if you've got a tub on the wall where you would normally grab a hold to step into the tub. So you can have that as an option, and then we usually recommend putting one in the tub also. So once you're in, you've got 2 spots to hold on to. And using handheld shower head sprayers is a great idea. And if your balance is getting really impaired, maybe looking into some options like a shower chair so you can sit and rest. Shower chairs can also be really good for you if you have trouble with your endurance. So maybe balance isn't the problem, but maybe you've got troubles when you get into the shower and you start doing all that activity, you start to get tired. Then at least you have the option to sit because there would be a chair present. Continuing to dig into what I've got here, I have some reflective tape. So reflective tape can actually be used on many different surfaces. So if you have stairs in your home that maybe don't have good lighting and you can't change the lighting, maybe you don't have that option, you can put reflective tape on the edge of the stairs so that every time you're going down, it will make that definition and it will make it stand out so that it's easier to see. And it would be reflective at this point. I also have in my little kit here a really bad example of shoes. So I am a fan of shoes that strap with Velcro or tie to the feet that have a good heel cup. The more supportive your shoe and the more firmly it stays on your foot, you're going to have a normal walking pattern. And when we start to wear shoes like these, where they slide on and there's nothing to grab the heel, we alter the way we walk to keep them on our feet. We start to shuffle and we don't pick our feet up, and we stop doing what's called a heel-toe pattern. So for a heel-toe pattern, we will hit our heel and then roll through our foot and then keep going. With the heel-toe pattern, when you're wearing these, we tend to stop hitting our heel and just moving our foot straight forward, because if we do, we lose our shoe. So that's why wearing shoes like these, slippers like these, are not great options, because they're going to change the way you walk. When you change the way you walk, it's going to throw off your balance and increase your risk of falling. For reaching things on the floor, this is a reacher. This is a foldable one. There's lots of different styles. And why this is really good is if we drop something to the ground and you've got to pick it up, you tip your head beneath your heart. And when you do that, you run the risk of increasing any dizziness you might have. So, anytime that head dips down, that risk gets higher. So if you can use reachers to get stuff up off the floor, if squatting is no longer an option, you can use these, pick things up that you may have dropped. They're also really handy for dressing if you need help with that, reaching your pants. I bet you're all wondering why I have a ginormous robe here. So any clothing that drags on the floor when you're walking and you might step on it, pants that are too long, robes that are too long, any of those can become a hazard, and you can trip on it as you and cause a fall. Back to lighting here. One of the things you can do too for lighting to make your home safer is get a higher wattage bulb. So the higher wattage bulbs will give off a brighter light. So looking into some of those, they're making, well, these are not LED ones, but they make really good LED ones that will give off a really good bright light. So looking at some of those too. These are called Yaktrax. I don't know if anyone's heard of Yaktrax. Probably just our ice fishermen. But what Yaktrax are is they will attach to the bottom of your shoe. And these are great in the winter when we're walking outside. So they'll come apart and you just hook them to the bottom of your shoe. And I'm not going to put them on because it takes a little strength and I'd have to sit down and I'll probably fall. But they'd go on like this. And then they've got some things on the bottom, some cords and wires that just make it so when you're walking on ice, you're not going to slip as easy. So this is a good option for those who maybe struggle on ice or are scared or fearful of falling on the ice. These might be enough to give you a little bit more confidence to continue with the activities that you like, maybe going for walks outside, taking the dog for a walk. So looking at things like that. The last thing I've got is just monitoring. So maybe not everyone uses assistive devices, but maybe some do. So looking at your maintenance of your assistive devices, they will wear out. They do get old. So just like you would service your car, you should always take a look and make sure that your cane, your walker, maybe even, I've got some walking sticks here, that they are in good condition and good shape. So what you can check for is checking the bottom, making sure that the rubber hasn't worn through. You can also buy for canes, they've got ice grips. So you can put these on and they have spikes on the bottom to help catch so that when you're walking you have a little bit of grip. A few things that I cannot put in my box here are, one of the easy things to do is lowering your bed to the floor. And maybe not all the way down, but having a bed that's too high so when you sit on it, your feet can't touch is not always safe. If we're sitting up, and maybe some of us get that dizziness when you first sit up for the day and you sit on the edge of the bed, your head goes woo and you get a little woozy. If you can get your feet on the ground, that helps give feedback. What we were talking about with your balance, what you feel through your feet, it sends those signals up to the brain and gives you some input as to what your balance is. So, lowering that bed so when you're sitting, your feet can touch the floor. Also, avoiding chairs that swivel, rock, or on wheels. I know I'm taking away all the fun, but all three of those will increase the risk of falling, especially ones that are on wheels. Chairs that are on wheels are the ones that kind of can sneak out from underneath you, or if maybe you're not sitting down very slowly, it can sneak out kind of behind you. So that's all I have right now for home modifications. There's a lot of other ideas out there and a lot of different things that are unique to each home environment. But these are just a few ideas to get you started. The next thing we're going to be talking about is how you can actually do some exercises to increase your strength, how you can work on improving your balance. So I'm going to be demonstrating those for you, and we'll get those going right now. Next, we'll be working on some specific exercises. With these exercises, I just want to put a little disclaimer on them that you are free to do them with me while I'm doing them today. But if you feel at any point that you are unsteady or you fear that you might fall, please wait to do these until you have either advice from your doctor or maybe another family member just to stand by to verify that your balance is good and that you are going to be safe when you're doing these. So the first one we're going to go over is repeated sit-to-stands. This is by far one of my favorite exercises. I like to give it to everybody. So with repeated sit-to-stands, you can either use without your arms or with your arms, depending on how hard you want it. So if you are able to perform sit-to-stands using without your arms, that is the most difficult way. Some people cannot do that. Some people are going to need to use their arms to help them stand. So you can push on a table, or you could look for a chair that has arms. Now, we were talking about those chairs that rock, swivel, or twist kind of thing, or they're on wheels. Those would not be appropriate for this exercise. So when you're doing this exercise, you're looking for a chair that looks similar to mine. It's got a good back, it's firmly planted on the ground, and preferably if it had arms would be the best, because then you can help push from there. So with repeated sit-to-stands, we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to cross our arms and we're going to stand up. And we're going to do 10 reps. Now there's no race, we don't have to do these fast. What we're working here is we're working our quads, we're working our glutes, and it's a good functional activity. If sit-to-stands are hard for you, this is a good activity that you can do that will make you stronger in this specific area. If you want a balance challenge with this, you can put your feet together. And instead of having them wide, put your feet together so they're touching and stand up. And now you've got the extra challenge of having to hold your balance there. If your balance is a problem, you may use your hands. You may push from a table in the chair. If you use an assistive device, you can place that assistive device in front of you. So when you stand up, you can grab that walker and then sit back down. The next exercise we're going to run through are seated kicks. So with this exercise, you can use a weight. So I'm just going to put this one on real quick. This is just your classic leg weight. So you can buy these at Walmart, you can buy them on Amazon, and it straps onto your leg. This is an adjustable one. It goes up to 5 pounds. Right now it's got 3 in it. I would recommend that you get an adjustable one if you want leg weights, and then you can play with it. You can play with the weights. You can increase it as you need, decrease it if you want. So with this, we're going to kick up. We're going to count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back down. This one, you're working your quadriceps, which is the muscle on the front of your leg. These muscles are important to work because they're the ones that help you on stairs. They're the ones that help you with walking. So if you find yourself struggling in those areas, this would be a really good exercise to work these muscles right here. So every time we kick up, we're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back down. The slower you do an exercise, the more control you have to have. The more control you have, the more you're working your strength. If we're kind of working through it like this, it's not as tough. And you guys can try it at home. Try kicking versus the holds. And you'll notice the difference in the muscle activation and the contraction and how hard you have to work. So with this, clearly you're gonna switch. You would do the other side. If you wanna make it harder, you can increase the weight that you're using. You can increase the amount of time that you're holding it if you don't have a weight. So say you get here and you don't have a weight, you could just hold it up for 10 seconds. Now, if this is too hard, what you can do is decrease the time or decrease the number of reps. Maybe you can't do 10, but maybe you can get 5 in. 5 is better than nothing. So whatever number you can do is good. The next one we're gonna work on here is a balance one. So with this one, again, if your balance isn't the best, if you find that maybe you've had falls in the past or you're not sure about how you're feeling today, this would not be one to do without somebody being with you or without consulting your doctor first. Because this one will put you in a position where you might lose your balance. But for some of you, it may be good, and this is a really good activity to keep you on your feet and to keep that balance and your inner ears nice and strong. So you're gonna take your feet and you're gonna place them one directly in front of the other. Now you can note, I'm holding on to the table here to help me get my balance. That's okay. But once I get my balance, I'm letting go. So when I put my arms way out, my balance here is a little bit better. If I want to make it harder, I can pull them in. And this is a much bigger challenge. And in between is kind of just here, where my hand's at the ready. If I'm about to lose my balance, I can grab if I need to. Your goal is to try to hold for 30 seconds. And you may not be able to do that. You may find that you need to touch your hand here occasionally. You may find that maybe you've got to hold on the whole time. And you know what? That's okay, because even being in this position and holding on, you're still challenging your balance. It's more than what you were doing before, and it's a good activity to get started on. And then as you continue to go, you could maybe lift a hand, use a finger, try to get up and touch. And eventually we'll get to the point where we can get here. For those of you who want to make this harder, I'm gonna probably lose my balance when I do this because this is hard, but you can do it with head turns. Now you can see me, see how I'm shaking, I'm going side to side more? This is a hard activity. So if you're gonna do that, make sure that you can stand first before you start shaking your head side to side. If this activity is too hard for you, you can change it. You can alter it by, instead of placing your foot directly in front, you can stagger your stance. So it'll just be a step forward. So we're balancing here. My feet are not in a straight line. They're slightly apart, just like I would take a step. And you can try to balance here. And maybe as that continues to get easier, you can try to sneak it in more in front. But this would be a good alternative if you can't hold here. You can place it out to the side a little. Again, we're shooting for 30 seconds and just holding it and touching if you need to. The next two we're gonna do are up against a wall. The next exercise we're gonna work on are repeated step-ups. So the best place in your home is to do this on the bottom step of a stairwell or on your stairs entering your home, looking for a spot where you can have a handrail and a step just to come up and down on. Not multiple stairs, just the bottom step. And what we're gonna do is it's just to pop up and back down, just like those old aerobics, those step aerobics where they used to come up and down on the steps. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do it on the bottom step. And with this one, the more you do, the tougher it is. The less you do, it will decrease it. So we're just gonna put our foot on the bottom step, And I have over here, to mimic a handrail, because I don't have a stairwell, I have a chair I'm holding on to. That would mimic a handrail. So we're just going to step up, tap, and back down. And we're going to shoot for about 30 reps. And you'll notice I'm keeping one foot on the step, and the other one's just going up and back down. You can switch and do the other side. This exercise is really good to work on, again, your quad strength. That's the muscles in the front of your leg. The stronger these muscles are, the easier walking is, the easier stairs are. So the more you're working on the activities that you struggle with, the better they're gonna get. So if you struggle on stairs, this is a good activity to work on. It's a controlled, safe environment. You're not at the top of the stairs, you're working on the bottom step, and you're getting that strengthening just like you would if you were doing the stairs. The next exercise we're gonna work on are wall push-ups. So when you're doing wall push-ups, look for a safe place to do it. Find a place where there's not clutter along the floor or furniture in the way. Looking for a spot where there's no pictures on the wall or shelves above your head. And then we'll go ahead and turn, stagger your steps. So you're gonna have one foot slightly in front of the other. This is a safety measure in case your arms can't hold you. You're gonna place your arms about the height of your shoulders. Not up here, not down here, at the height of your shoulders. And then you're going to lean forward and then push back up. And I wanted my hands a little bit wider there, so I spread my hands out. I started too narrow. So we're gonna start here, coming in and back out. The slower you go with these, the more challenge you're gonna get. I'm going in slow, just barely touching my forehead, and then backing out from the wall. If you want to make these harder, you back your feet up. So you can bring them way back, and now you have to go even farther into the push. If you have shoulder problems, this may not be the exercise for you. Possibly you've had an injury to a rotator cuff or anything like that, maybe even arthritis or some rheumatoid arthritis in those shoulders. If you have any of those, this might be a too painful activity for you. All of the exercises we've gone over today should be pretty pain-free. If any of them are causing you pain, make sure you talk to your doctor about it and review with them what might be causing that pain. The last thing that you can do for exercise that is great for your balance and for your strength is starting a walking program. So if you don't already have an activity that you enjoy doing, walking is a great exercise to start. All it takes is just getting outside and walking around. And even if you can't make it outside, doing laps in your living room, back and forth down the hallway and back to the kitchen is a great exercise too. I encourage people when you're out going for a walk to set your goal for yourself. Say, I'm going to walk for 15 minutes, and then you can time yourself. A lot of smartphones have those timers where you can just set it. I'm going to walk for this far. When I get that far, I'm going to turn around and head back. The American Heart Association recommends that we all get 30 minutes of activity a day. Now, that doesn't have to be 30 minutes straight. It could be 15 minutes of vacuuming in the morning, you did the whole house, and then maybe in the afternoon you're going to go out for a walk. So, walking is a great exercise. It's something that's extremely functional. We use it all the time, and it's so good for our bodies. Not only is it good for our strength, it's good for our hearts. So I just wanted to thank you guys all for listening today. I hope you all have learned something that you can apply to your daily lives, whether it be a simple home modification recommendation or maybe an exercise that you're saying, I think I'm going to try that one. That looked pretty cool. I hope that all of those tips are helpful, and you guys all have a great day.